Hey YouTube. We're back on this box here. Now we've already done in a previous video how to make this mortise. How to make this mortise, and right now I'm going to prepare to finish the lid and to drill a hole where this right here, this part of the mechanism will fit into the lid, and this is a door closer. So we'll show you how to do that. Right now I'm just going to screw it down. I've got already got one screw started, and so we'll show you how to do that. Now the best thing to do if you're going to screw into a hardwood like this is walnut, but if you're going to screw into a piece of walnut, you're going to have to prepare because for one thing you got to drill a hole where you're going to put your screw, and then you're going to have to use some sort of wax. Now this is what I use. It's just an old candle. It's got paraffin in it probably. So let's go ahead and do that. I've already prepared it. So yeah, maybe I prepared it, maybe I didn't, I don't know. One thing that's going to help you is, and I showed this on a previous video, but this particular one has all the dimensions of how to put this together. Maybe you can see that, and the one that's circled is the one that I'm using. So put your screws in carefully, because these particular ones are solid brass. But make sure you wax your screws. I think I'm going to do that right now. Now I better check to see if I drilled that. Well, I guess not. One thing that's good to do is to have a complete drill set where you have all the sizes. That way you'll know exactly what size you're choosing. Now, one of the things you got to do is choose the one that you think is going to be the right size. And for your screw, you got to match the drill bit to it so that the drill is the same size as the root diameter, which is the smallest diameter on this screw. Now I can measure it into thousandths of an inch, but the best thing to do is not to do that. The best thing to do is to take your screw, hold it up against your drill bit in this way, like this, and to see if it's the same size. Maybe I can turn it around so you can see it a little bit better. But anyway, so make sure your drill's charged up. Make sure it's going to be long enough, because this is probably over an inch. Yeah, I have an old-fashioned drill where I gotta use a chuck, and I prefer it that way because I can get it tighter. And then put your drill down in there. Make sure that you're drilling straight down, and that it is straight not only in this direction but also in this direction here. Clear some of the chips off of it. Make sure you drill it deep enough. As I said, wax your screw a little bit. Don't screw them in with this. This is a nice tool, but you can't do it that way. You got to use a hand screwdriver because these are brass. They break extremely easy. They're very soft, relatively speaking. So I got one of them in. Very carefully put them in. Until they're flush with the surface of your lid stay. These are called lid stays. So I've got it down there. I'm going to have to use my card. I'm going to have to upside down. I'm going to have to use my card to make sure that I have the dimension correct, because otherwise you'll do what I did. I was too overconfident and I drilled this hole right here in the wrong spot. And the way that they do things is with hinges is that you're going to have to take your hinges, and I have distressed these hinges by first heating them up red hot and then dipping them in oil. That's why I got this particular patina on them. These were regular steel zinc covered hinges, and I put the oil on after I heated them up red hot. And then the next thing I did was I took a steel plate, a steel plate like this, and I heated up the hinges again and put them on this plate with oil, and then I put wood chips on it, and then I took a propane torch and I put the hinges on there, heated them up with the wood chips and everything, and then I got sort of a rough surface with the wood chips. and it gave them a little bit darker patina is what I wanted. So you can distress them however you want to. But you're going to have to take your hinge, one of your hinges, and on this one I'm going to have to take the hinge that is closest to my door closer, or for my lid stay. It's not a door closer, it's a lid stay. And I've already pre-drilled these screws, so don't have to worry about them. These are steel screws, and I also distress these in the same way that I distress the hinges. So I'm going to have to screw this down. I've already put in mortises like this mortise over here on this side with a chisel, and I've got them to the correct depth that I want. This one's already done. Now, one of the things that I do is, some people say, well, you're supposed to make the hinge flush with the surface of your box. That is incorrect. What you're supposed to do is take your hinge, flip it like this, and measure exactly how thick the hinge is closed. If you put them flush with the surface, they will not close your lid properly. It won't fit down all the way. So this one is actually recessed into the surface a little bit, as you can see there. That's kind of a hard explanation, but it's the best way I know how to do it. So it gives you even an illustration over here on this side over here where my finger is, and you see letter B, and it shows you the distance from the center of the hinge pin, from the center of the hinge pin to the place where you're supposed to drill. Now here's my lid. It's already prepared. It's got a beautiful grain pattern, already sanded and everything. It's really even polished because of the place where I had previously drilled a wrong hole right there. So you got to measure that B distance. And I would suggest that you just not use anything to measure it. This is an Empire brand square, and I always use the rule that came with it. So I'm going to have to measure from the hinge, center of the hinge pin, to where I want to drill the hole. And it gives you the distance of letter B, which is 1 inch. So my distance from the center of the hinge pin to the box, I have to take that into consideration. Measure it carefully and take your time. It's 3/16, so I'm going to have to write that down. I always have a pencil. What's a carpenter without his pencil, right? Make sure you have a nice, sharp pencil. I'm going to sharpen mine. You can sharpen it with a chisel, but that's up to you. But I sharpen mine with a utility knife. Because I'm going to have something that's very accurate. So carefully sharpen your pencil until you get a nice point on it. Alright, I'm going to have to write down this number. I'm going to write it right on this instruction sheet. 3/16. Because I'm going to have to take that distance plus an inch. According to this chart, distance B is 1 inch. Sometimes you have to study on it and think it over a little bit. I've got the lid stay in the wrong spot, I think. Okay, well, I've got some complicated measurements here. The distance from the edge of this box right here, the distance from the edge of the box to the imaginary center line running through this lid stay is, well, I measured it over here and wrote it down, 15/32. All right. I also have an overhang on this box. I wrote it down. I'm sorry. This distance is a little bit over 3/8. So I call it 3/8 plus, plus a 64th. And then I have an overhang right here of this lid, because this lid is larger than the box. And I have an overhang of 15/32. So I have to make those considerations when I lay out where I'm going to drill this. And where I want to drill it is right up here. It's kind of hard to show it. Right up here. So, I've got my drill already chucked into my bit, or into my drill. Got my bit chucked in there. And then I'm going to use an awl. This is an old awl I bought at a discount store. And I'm going to make a pinpoint of where I want to drill it. Now your box and your lid, it's all going to be different, of course. So I go ahead and drill it. Now I don't want to drill it all the way through because I want this lid stay, I want the barrel of this lid stay right here. I want it to penetrate my lid, but I don't want it to go all the way through. So I got to be careful how I drill this. And I'm using, by the way, a brad point bit, 1/4 inch, because this lid stay, the barrel of this little lid stay is 1/4 inch. I'm going to drill it little by little because I don't want to go all the way through here. Now if you look where I drilled it, it's nearly perfect. It's nearly perfect, just where I want it. So I'm going to make sure that you can see that it's not drilled quite deep enough. I'm going to make sure that I don't drill it too deep, because the brad point bit has a brad point, and you don't want the point to poke through. That does take up some of the distance, and it can poke through very easily. So it's not poking through yet. I may leave it a little bit proud because, or I could file down that barrel so that it's not so long, because I do have to take into consideration the lid and how thick it is, and this particular lid is a little bit over 3/8. And this barrel it's only sticking up about a little bit over 1/4 inch. Alright, well, what I did was I ground this down a little bit because I wanted it to seat fully in my lid, and so that it would close the gap in there. So I've got that, and I'll show you how that works. You have to turn it the right way here, and then you just put the lid down. I wish I wouldn't have made this lid so thin, but I wanted to sort of showcase the crotch crotch walnut that I had here. Sort of showing you the real-time adventure I'm having here. There, I finally got it. And it is closed pretty good. Pretty much how I want it. I did check it to make sure that it would fit. So we'll get that glued back in there.